Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and today it's just going to be me again because Neon is elsewhere doing other things. So we're going to talk about Dakota Johnson and how Sony is kind of pissed at her apparently because she was making comments about the movie we talked about before with the Madame Web fiasco. And now they're mad because she's dragging the movie and they're actually kind of blaming it on her. And it's funny because it's not her fault completely. The movie sucked. It is what it is. It was a really crappy movie, especially when you see some of the other early concepts. It seemed like they might have gone in a better direction, but the committee, which she mentions movies by committee, changed it. So this story is coming from the Daily Mail, and they're talking about Dakota Johnson angers Madame Web bosses for dragging the Marvel flop and failing to take any responsibility for its poor box office performance, and saying she understands why it bombed. Well, that's just being honest. So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please like and subscribe. If you do, I'll give you a woohoo, woohoo, and we're going to take a look at this. So Madame Web did not do well, as y'all know. Madame Web made $91 billion at the global box office, $40.4 million was domestic, and $50.6 million is international. It had a budget of $80 million, which people are saying is closer to like $100 million, like low $100 millions. Oh, it already recouped it. No, it didn't. That's okay. Bull crap, Collider. I'm calling bull crap on your bull crap. $91 million does not mean you recouped your budget of $80 million. Okay, that was just the basic budget. They spent a crap ton of money promoting this thing. Plus, then the theaters take a cut, and then you have different things that are associated with it, besides marketing and theatrical, with somebody gets like residuals and things like that. You need to make at least twice as much money as what you spent, at least. So you would have to probably make $250 million to break even, all right, on this one, maybe even more, depending on what the cost actually was, because they're saying it was way higher than 80. More than initially reported. Yeah, it's not gonna break even. It didn't recoup its money. It's not complete. They're saying, oh, it's not a complete financial disaster. Bullshit. Complete financial disaster. They're gonna lose a lot of money on this one. I'm sorry. Stop saying crap that isn't true and isn't true. And in other articles, you would tell the truth, but in this one, for whatever reason, you're trying to protect the movie. No, it didn't do well. So after it didn't do well, you had Sydney Sweeney out on Saturday Night Live bashing the movie. And then Dakota Johnson did an interview with Bustle. And in her interview, she basically said she understands why it didn't do well. This is what she said, okay? It's so hard to get movies made. And these big movies, they get made. And it's even starting to happen with little ones, which is what's really freaking me out. Decisions are being made by committees. And we're going to look at that. I think there's a reason why she said that. And art does not do well when it's made by committee. Films are made by a filmmaker and a team of artists around them. You cannot make art based on numbers and algorithms. My feeling has been for a long time that audiences are extremely smart and executives have started to believe that they're not. They haven't just started. It's been going on for a while. Audiences will always be able to sniff out bullshit. Yes, we can. Even if films start to be made with AI, humans aren't going to fucking want to see those. But beyond that, there has been a trend where it seems like movies are made by committee. I would argue the new Star Wars trilogy by Disney, when you had The Force Awakens, the whole damn thing felt like a rehash of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back done by committee. They are constantly doing this by committee. They keep making these changes to appease certain people, certain buzzwords they feel like they need to do, and they ruin the films. And they also are creatively bankrupt in the fact that they keep just remaking other things. This one was at least, it was a comic book, but it was at least something new. They just did a really piss poor job with it. She goes on, but it was definitely an experience for me to make that movie. I have never done anything like it before. I probably will never do anything like it again because it doesn't make sense in that world. And I know that now. But sometimes in this industry, you sign on to something and it's one thing, and then as you're making it, it becomes a completely different thing. And you're like, wait, what? But it was a real learning experience. And of course, it's not nice to be part of something that's ripped to shreds, but I can't say that I don't understand. All right. So she's even admitting it started out as one thing, it got changed to something else, and it's not what she thought it was going to be. And she says, I can understand people will think it's crap because it was crap. I mean, she's personally said she didn't watch it because she doesn't like to watch her own films, which, you know, isn't valid. Other people say the same thing. But she's admitting that it's crap. She's admitting that audiences are tired of rehashes. They're tired of bullshit. And they're tired of films by committee because their algorithms and their think tank and the bean counter said this is their best shot of making money back. I never thought Madam Web was a good shot at making money back. I don't think all these spin-offs like Silk and that are good shots at making money back. But that's just me. What do I know? So apparently her comments did not go over well with Sony. Sony's now mad and they're blaming her and saying that, you know, her comments and is part of the reason why it bombed. And it's like, look, I'm sure her comments did not help. But before the movie came out, the reviews were not good. All right. They were not good. Even the critics were talking crap about it. I love how when it's audiences that don't like something, it's review bombing, but when it's critics, it's just, you know, the way it is. It did not do well. And they're saying that she's in hot water with Sony because they're mad about her making multiple public digs at the movie and its poor box office performance because it sucked. All right. They're talking about how bad it did. It's going to do, it only did 15.1 million opening weekend. They said she's dragging the film and failing to take any responsibility. Okay, the actors can show up and they can do whatever they're told to do, right? And the performance that is on screen is the one the directors and the people behind the movie at Sony agreed was the best one to put up there. They're the ones who made the choices to only show them in costume because it's flash forwards, I guess. They're the ones that decided the acting was okay enough to put in the film. They're the ones that decided that it's probably not a good look for actors to drag the films they're currently in until a little bit later because it might bite them in the ass. I mean, this most likely will be something that other studios will look at and they might not hire her for a while because they want you to say nice things about the film when you're doing publicity for the film. It probably will bite her in the rear end, but as soon as she does something else down the road that does well, if she can do something that does well, that's up for debate. It'll probably just be all forgotten, water under the bridge, like usually happens. But you cannot blame Dakota Johnson solely for the movie failing. It was a bad idea. It was executed poorly. It was not good. That's just, it is what it is. I'm sorry. So they said a lot of people at Sony are questioning her star power. Well, I questioned her star power too. I thought she was a very odd choice, but okay. And how she reacted to this failure would likely come back to haunt her. Yes, I agree. I think it will bite her in the ass, at least temporarily. They claimed that bosses had been fine with Dakota's co-star Sydney Sweeney making a playful joke on Saturday Night Live, but drew the line at her constant barbs. Well, I'm sorry, but that seems a little hypocritical, you know? You're allowed to go on Saturday Night Live and make fun of it if you're one person. But if you're, you know, the star and you're like making comments about it too, well, you're not allowed to because one was playful and one was, you know, damaging. It's okay to joke about your movie not doing well and even lean into the bad reviews like Sydney Sweeney did on Saturday Night Live with her monologue. But producers and Sony aren't laughing over Dakota's continued dragging of how she sees the fallout of Madam Web and how she isn't taking any responsibility for its lackluster results. I don't really see the difference. I don't see, honestly, it's kind of refreshing that someone's honest. I think because, you know, her parents are famous, she probably thinks she has some protection against, you know, being banned from Hollywood completely, unlike other people who had to, you know, work their way up. But I don't see how it's any different. I don't know. I just don't see the difference. I think both, if one's bad, so is the other. If one's okay, so is the other. But Sony's mad. Well, Sony, here's the thing. Maybe don't make a shitty movie. I don't think Craven's going to do well either. These are movies nobody wants. You did great with Spider-Man. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the movies are great. You did a fantastic job with those. Those are good. But nobody wanted Madam Web. She's usually an old lady in a wheelchair. Nobody wanted this. And speaking of which, apparently some of the concept art shows that she was going to be a much older woman. They said that they're talking about the new movie and they newly revealed concept art by Ed Natividad. I don't know how to say your name. I'm sorry. We'll call you Ed. He said a darker, perhaps more interesting movie was once considered. There was a Reddit post and they're talking about Cassandra Webb. And Ezekiel was portrayed as being a little more sinister. The spider people made it into the finished movie. And they're showing like, yeah, here, wheelchair. Older lady in a wheelchair. All right. Older lady in a wheelchair. What else we got? This looks much better. I'm not sold on that one. But for the most part, it looks considerably better than what we got. Not sold on that one either. But the other things aren't bad. So Sony really has no one to blame but themselves. If they thought Dakota Johnson was star power, that's also on them. Because most audiences could have told them that that was not the case. It did not do well. I'm sorry. Craven is going to follow suit. It might do a little better. I'm sure it'll do a little better. But it's not gonna do great. I just think people are over these superhero movies by committee. They're over the whole superhero thing in general. And they haven't had good movies. I think you're going to get a lot of people out for Deadpool 3 because it's Deadpool. But Madam Web, people are like, who the hell's Madam Web? Most people don't even know who Madam Web was. So anyway, there it is. Dakota Johnson, spoke the truth. Sony's pissed. Dakota Johnson wasn't exactly star power to begin with. And the movie failed at the box office, but it could have been better. And the committee that she spoke out against decided it needed to make it what it became. And it was basically like a CW, extended episode. Anyway, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.